Sony.
Hi there, the tech minions say that we are live. Is that true? Are we live? Really live? Genuinely live. Terrific. Almost on time and everything. I think we're only 5 seconds late this time. I'm Linda Carlson, also known as Brasse the Dwarf, and I'll be hosting the webcast today when we're going to be talking about the EQ2 Players. Now, we're not just talking about players. We're talking about the data site that you guys have been asking about for ages. And we have some really exciting news for you today and a really neat sneak peek at some of the screens that you'll be seeing shortly. I'd like to introduce to you Abby Watt. She's an associate web producer here at SOE, and before that she was working in usability. Having somebody who has a lot of experience in usability is really important for this type of venture, so we're very happy to have Abby here. And this is Clif Bate. Now his title is longer than mine. Look at this. Director of Commerce Services and Web Presence. He probably also does janitorial, cappuccino making, that sort of thing in his spare time.
Just at home.
Yes, just at home. And yeah, thank you both for joining us today. So let's talk a little bit about EQ2 Players. We took that offline some time ago, didn't we?
We did.
And why was that? I bet they can all tell us.
Yeah, well, we've been transitioning all of the websites to, one, improve them. They've been static and kind of stale for a while, and we had some plans in the works to make them not just updated with a batch once in a while, but actually have almost real-time data that we could make a really dynamic site. And so that's what we've been working on.
Right, and of course we've had a lot of complaints over the years about the inaccuracy of the site, the slowness of it, the meaningless numbers and that sort of thing. So how long ago did you guys start working on this?
The concept of it probably started about a year ago when we first started looking at, well, what were the problems, what could we do to make it better. And then there's a separate team internally who started working on a data-driven site, which we call Census, which there's data APIs available. And as the game team, particularly EQ2, started publishing the data to Census, we were able to start getting the feeds, refine them, ask for more, get more, and now we've got a ton of data, which we are able to not only use for quick updates, but now as the game is sending them, as someone levels up, zones up, logs out, we get that data almost immediately.
So it updates as soon as you log out, or on
well, as
live?
you zone, it's live. I mean, there's different points. I mean, different achievements, milestones. It'll send data to us as well as when you log out.
Okay, and so make a guess here. How many man hours were involved, say on your team? I know you don't have any idea on the dev side of it, but
or QA.
Or QA. So QA was heavily involved in this, yes?
Yeah, they've definitely been really helpful in making sure that everything's working and looks good.
I'm very excited about this. So, man hours, wild guess.
I'd say well over 1,500.
Wow.
There's been a lot of people shift through, but then we really wanted to set the bar high. So what we're going to be releasing very soon will be what we're terming a beta, because we don't want to set the expectations too high, but we have so many features that we already know we can do, but we need to test more. We're going to roll out a first subset of them.
And so the display, perhaps we should just go straight into the screenshots, because I think everybody's pretty anxious to see those. So
Great.
if we could cue those up, we'll just get the monitor turned around this way so that we can see what we're talking about. Here we go. So the first page there is the page that you see when you first log into EQ2 Players. So what are we looking at here? And who's that gorgeous looking dwarf? Oh my lord. Okay, now we have a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, that is my main character. I have to tell you that although she's level 90, I am so gimped because of my lack of ability to devote time to raids that I have actually been kicked out of normal heroic groups for being too gimped. So that's a good introduction. So what am I looking at here? What is this telling me about my character on this first slide?
Well, like you just said, you're looking at you. This is basically the page that you'll see when you log in. What you see right now is your equipped item information. So default is your main hand weapon selected. You will also have the ability to click on any other equipped item that you have.
Huh, okay, that's pretty neat. And that paper doll image, did I take that accidentally, or does the program automatically take it?
It automatically happens when you log out of the game.
Really? So basically I was looking into the skies for free beer falling down. That's actually interesting. I'll have to be careful of, make sure that I pick a good pose when I log out. All right, so what's on the next slide?
All right, next slide, very similar to what we just saw, except for these are going to be your,
Statistics.
Yeah, this is your character's general statistics. Oh, okay,
Wait,
now
wait.
where I thought we would be.
Okay.
These are your appearance items.
Oh, right.
So-
oh, now you can see what an addict I am of cool marketplace items.
Yes.
Yeah. I couldn't resist the mermaid scale stuff. It just seemed really cool for Frostfell.
It looks pretty good. All right, so yeah, just like your equipped items, you can see all of your appearance items too.
So you may have the appearance items or the equipment items, and if one of your slots is empty, then it will show that it's empty here.
Oh, very cool.
But that you can get the information about it, what classes can have it, and in the case of the equipment items, you can actually see what their what type of XP, what kind of powers they give you, whatever you want to, whatever kind of information is available in game, we've got it here.
So when you hover over the icon for the equipment, it'll actually show you all of the stats for that equipment?
When you click on it.
Oh, okay, when you click on it.
It'll
Very
be over on
cool.
the right-hand side.
Okay.
This one isn't showing it, but it'll
Yeah,
be
because it's appearance items, so they don't have
But-
stats.
Yes.
Cool. Okay, what's next?
All right, next should be your general stats. So you can see, I actually can't read the screen from here, but you can see basic stats about your character, like agility, wisdom, intellect.
So we've got them broken down into several different areas, but let's see. Yeah, stamina, health, intelligence, and it'll graph it out for you. And
Is that really low on my int?
Well, actually, we'll get to that later.
Oh, really? Okay. I'm really scared about this. I feel quite naked. All right.
Well,
What's
that's,
and also-
nakedness is something we cannot help overcome with your paper doll.
Okay, so if you guys wanted to just stand up and take your microphones with you, you can actually stand right next to the screen if you want to see it better.
That might help a little. All right, so moving on through the just character overview information, the next thing that we're going to talk about is mitigation, which is obviously important, you know, for your more tinky characters, but any
Right.
character it's helpful for. You can see here, I just have a screenshot of your spell mitigation because your other mitigations were so low, it wasn't really worth showing.
Yeah. You know, if I wasn't working so hard here, I'd have time to go out and get proper equipment and stuff.
You are preaching to the choir. But yeah, so you can see that's just some general character overview information that we have for you. This information's neat, but there's not a whole lot of context for it.
Right.
If you go to the next screenshot, we can see your rankings, and that shows you sort of what all this stuff adds up to.
Oh, so I suck, I'm terrible, I'm really lousy.
Well,
Got it.
what we're showing you here is how many deaths you've had, how many kills you've done on a player basis, though. So how many
Okay.
players have killed you, how many players you've killed, and
Okay, but explain to me the number of deaths I've had. I know I've died a lot. So the blue bar on the left is me. And what
most
is,
deaths, yes.
and what is the significance of the really tall green bar? Does that mean that somebody else has died that many more times?
That is the total number of deaths on your server.
Oh. All right, so I account for a sizable number of the total number of deaths on my server. I should
Looks
be
like
proud of this.
20%, yeah.
Oh, come on.
Actually, I'm not sure I'm kidding.
That's not possible. I really don't die that much. Now, if we were looking at my husband's stats, he's a ranger. I could believe that. Okay.
And then the middle bar, that one is, so based on whatever your class is, then it is comparing your deaths, or whichever one of these windows you're in, to another player of that class who has the highest amount in that world. So while you were just
okay.
bemoaning your suckage, somebody else has succeeded your suckage
Terrific.
to a greater level.
Got it.
The next
Amy, stop giggling.
The next ranking below that is your kills. So you've got a pretty decent number of kills,
I'm a mystic.
83,000.
I don't kill many things. How many things have I killed?
Maybe it's assist, 83,000.
83. Okay.
And
Lots
this
of
is-
rats.
Yeah, possibly. Although that should be your player kills, so it sounds like you're doing a lot of PvP.
Not a lot. I mean, I've done a little bit on the battlegrounds, but really not a lot. PvP isn't really my bag. That's interesting.
My guess would be that it counts the people around you and the kills you've participated.
Oh, so basically what you're saying is when I'm responsible for a raid wipe, it counts all the players in my party. I bet that's what it's doing. And I gotta look into that now. See, now no one's gonna invite me ever again. It's a good thing I went into dungeon making instead.
Could be.
Okay, so what's on the next slide? Surely it's not gonna be quite as depressing.
Next slide, and we're sort of just working our way through the left nav menu on the page now.
Oh,
we
I
just
see.
looked at your rankings. Another option that we're not going to discuss too much is you can select from your alt characters, and here
Right.
you can see we've got your list of spells.
Ah.
So there's a 7-page list with 25 spells per page listing
Okay.
out all of your spells.
And it's sortable by spell name, maybe spell level, that sort of thing?
We've
Okay.
got tier, name, and level, it looks like.
That's actually very handy because that way on my lunch break I can plan out which spells I really should be upgrading.
So these are all your spells, and then if you hover over it, then it'll give you information about the particular spell itself.
Gotcha.
And give you all the details that you would normally get in-game as well.
Okay.
All right.
So what's next?
Next is achievements.
Do I have any?
You have, it looks like, about 250.
Awesome. See, I'm good for something.
So very similar to the spells page, you just list your achievements. You can sort again by name, description, category, and it just shows you all the awesome things you've done in NORAD.
Gotcha.
So this will keep growing as you achieve new things in games. It's, as I was mentioning earlier, the game sends it. I don't want to go so far as to say real time, but just about.
Oh, that's really cool though.
So it'll be able to update as you're moving throughout your game session.
It's nice to have that recorded somewhere that I can easily find it as well because it shows up in game on the screen for a couple of seconds. I'm usually busy doing something else at the time, like killing rats, running for my life, rezzing the ranger, that sort of thing. So it'll be very cool to have them all in one place.
A side note about the real-timeness, the rankings graphs are updated once an hour, and it says that right underneath the graph. So when you're like, I just died again, why isn't it showing up? You can see, oh, because it only upgrades, or updates, excuse me, hourly.
So the next one we'll go to is where we show an AA tree. We basically built a calculator where you can go through and see all of the different AAs. You can choose the different classes and just go through and add it up to see how would you like to build it out.
Huh, very nice. And then can you save the builds as well?
At this point, you can't save them
Okay.
out. That is one of the things we've got built or planning for the future.
Very neat. So, because if we could save them, then we could share them with our friends as ideal builds
Yep.
and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
I would like that very much because I can tell you I've been through more than a few AA resets, and every time I log in, it's like, oh, seriously, now I have to go and get a 6-pack of beer because it's going to take me 4 hours to figure out where to put all the points again. So if I could save my previous build or look at some uber mystic who is not me and see how they've built it out, I would have a much easier time of it. Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah, and as you can see in the screenshot, if you hover over any of these AAs, you get AA details like you would in game.
Right, so when you rank them up on this AA builder, it would automatically give you the improved results that you get from the ranking? Like it'll display how much it has increased over the previous ranking, that sort of thing?
Right, as you click on the first one, that's right now is at the top, it's listed as a 0. If you click on it and you get it up to, say, a 2 or a 3, it'll then highlight the other AAs that you can then build off of that and
Gotcha.
just build it from there.
Okay.
So one of the cool things we've got coming up, which we'll show in the next slide, was a lot of times players are wanting to compare themselves to someone else. How do I rank against them? What do they have that I don't have?
Oh, this is going to be painful, isn't it?
In your case,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
But,
Amy,
go ahead.
All right,
review time's coming up soon. You stop laughing at me.
so I used the site's search functionality to just find a level 90 mystic, and so we came up with Tetrion, who looks like he's on Unrest. This is just the basic compare window where you can say, oh, here's the items I have, here's the items they have.
Gotcha.
Cool. If you click on one of the items, and that's going to be our next screenshot, you
Okay.
compare the stats directly.
Okay, so what's the difference between the reds and the yellows? What do the colors mean?
The colors represent which item has more of that particular stat. So you can see here, you've got, in most cases, less stuff than he does on your chess piece.
I'm so surprised. Yes. Okay.
So the greens are the positive, the red is where it's lacking. So you won't see 2 reds on the same line or 2 greens. It's going to highlight the one in green of who has the most, and the one that has less will be in red. So
And
it's
then
quickly,
if there's no statistic to compare to, it just leaves it blank. Got
That's
it.
correct.
Okay, that seems pretty straightforward.
All right, and the next screen is you can see where we directly compare your stats. And that'll come up as a graph. You are, and I'm talking about the graph on the top, not the one on the bottom, although we'll get there. The one on the left in blue is you, and then the one on the right is him.
Okay, so I make up for lack of stats by being pure awesome.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Also, it looks like your intelligence is not too bad either.
Which is because it's not a primary stat for a mystic. So,
Well, you're a very smart mystic.
but yes, I know where to find all the right beer.
Then we can go ahead to the next screen and you'll see some more comparison features.
Yeah, so all of, not necessarily all, but a whole lot of this character overview information you can compare between the two characters. So if I'm like, hey, who's got more spell mitigation? You can see in this case, he does.
Yes. I'm going to take out an assassination order on this guy now. You know that.
I'm going to have to transfer over first to unrest. So that's spell mitigation. I think we can go into comparing your different ranks now.
Oh, sure.
So I could only fit 3 ranks on this screenshot, so I collapsed the most kills by a player graph, but you can see the top is how many times each of you have died because of other players. The second graph is, can't read it. We've got a sort of fuzzy image that we're looking at.
Oh, okay.
Maybe, I don't know. The bottom is max spell hit.
Yes,
too.
I was really surprised to see that very high number that they had there. That's quite interesting.
I'm sorry, no, the middle is max spell hit, the bottom is max melee hit.
Right.
So, yeah, they've got quite a melee thing going on here,
I'm really surprised. Is that a real number?
as far as I know.
Can you look up what they used to get that melee hit?
You could probably ask him.
Thanks.
Or
I don't want to embarrass myself by asking him. I want to look it up and see what uber weapon he used.
Well, so
with what
go
buff.
to the character info and check out his equipped items.
Yeah.
You've already got it up at the top where you can compare what
Well, that's
equipment
true, but is
he
that
has.
the same equipment that he's wearing now?
That's what he's got
question.
when he last checked out of the
Okay,
game.
but is that what he got, what he was using when he got that huge hit? I think he made up that number. I really do, yeah.
If it makes you happy.
Okay.
And I believe that's all
Awesome
of our
video
screens
appearance.
for right now. Yeah, because that was... All right.
All right, well, thank you very much for that humbling and humiliating experience. I will find a way to get you back for that, don't worry. It'll come around fanfare, I think, you know.
Apparently not in game though.
It depends, do you play?
I do.
What server are you on?
I shall not say.
Oh, that's it. I have friends in low places, you know. I'm going to find out. All right, so of course, predictably, we have questions from our players. We have 4 of them here, all asked on the forums. And Sela says, I would like to know what sort of privacy controls are in place. Will our characters be available all or nothing? Or can we choose which bits of information are available, such as spells and AAs, but doesn't want to show her leveling history and gear, that sort of thing?
Well, to some extent it is an all or nothing. And by all or nothing, I mean that if your character, as your character's data is there, you cannot piecemeal say, I want to expose this, I don't want to expose that.
Okay.
When, from the nothing side, we give the players the ability in-game that they can, after they've logged in, they can go to their profile, they can go to the EQ2 share. And there is, within there is the call out for EQ2 players. And there's, by default, it is checked. So if someone wants to uncheck it, basically to make themselves private, they just uncheck it, and at that point, their character, that particular character, would no longer be available to the public feed. So
Right.
that would basically mean if somebody else goes to the player site, they would and try to do a search for that character, they would not find it. So even though you maybe just played with them, if your character's marked private, it won't be shown up.
That's a really good topic for a player such as myself, because I have a couple of characters that I consider very public. I love to talk to people when I log in, and then there's other times when I've just gotten home and I'm really tired and I just want to play privately. So I can pick and choose which characters are available on these lists to be seen and viewed and so on.
That's correct. Now, one of the things that's going to happen in the future, I've been told, is that by default your main character will automatically be opted in. All alts will be something you have to, for your main character, you would have to choose if you want to opt out. All of your alts would by default be something you have to alt in.
Ah, gotcha.
So that's in the future. Right now, all of the characters are there. But let me kind of clarify this when I said it'd be public versus private. The data feed that I mentioned before, this service we call Census, this is something that already we have several fan sites utilizing this, and they're looking great. We're real excited, and they've given us some great feedback on it. When you if you were to mark your your character as private,
right,
to those public feeds, to any of the fan sites, that character would not be included in the feeds that go out to them.
That's good. The second question we have is actually from Brig, who says, will you set our privacy defaults to hide all characters? Will we be able to see alts for players who don't have them set to be hidden, assuming that setting is an option? So I think you've answered that on both sides now. So on third-party sites, although they do get data feeds, they will not get access to characters that you've set to private.
That's right.
Wow.
So it'll be But now let me kind of back up to one thing. So on the SOE EQ2 players, because we require an authentication, you have to log in with your station account. You would be able to still see all the characters, even though you've marked it as private. You can still see your own characters.
Right.
They're just not available to the rest of the world. So whether it's a third party or someone searching on our site, if it's a private character, they wouldn't show up in the searches. But it still lets you be able to say, well, hey, nobody knows about this, but I want to compare it. I want to see what my stats are.
Oh, that's terrific. So you can still get all of the features without actually letting other people know what you've got.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
I'm much prouder of my Beast Lord statistics than I am of my Mystic statistics, I have to say, so maybe I'll look into that.
Also, I believe that you can't search for a character's alt. So if I find Brasse, I can't go, oh, I'm going to see what the rest of her alts are.
That's good.
If you make them public, they'll show up if I search for them. But there's no connection there at this time.
Right.
Okay.
We don't make public the account relationship. So someone may know your main character. They won't be able to see what your alts are. But once again, when you log in on our site, then we can pull it together. So you don't have to do a search for every single one. It will bring up all of the characters that are on that account.
Okay.
And the way it works with Census is after you've played the character, as we said, it'll send the data over to our data store. If you haven't played a particular character, that won't be in Census. So if you want all your characters in, go log in.
Okay. Lycia asks, before the free-to-play revamp, there were player rankings for most server-first item discoveries and most world-first item discoveries, and the original EQ2 players even kept track of which items you discovered and when. Will this functionality be part of the new EQ2 players?
We have so much data. All of this is available in Census. For our first iteration, we do not have the discovered items, but it is there. So this is something we want to roll out in the future. So we absolutely have it, and it's also available to the public feeds as well. So some fan sites may beat us to it, but that's one of the great things. Is we want to have the data available so that our fans, if they're eager, if this is something they're interested, hey, go for it.
They can build their own widgets to access it.
Exactly.
That's actually a good tie-in to Delmon's question. What will the SOE EQ2 Players site have that fan-created sites and apps which are also leveraging the data feeds won't have? Will there be any exclusive content or data in the official site that fan sites won't have access to? It sounds like the opposite is the case, that they can have anything they want.
That's right. There is no exclusive data at this point. The only thing that we've got is because since we have the authentication ability on the site,
right,
is that we can show that we know about the account level relationship. Otherwise, all the data is available.
Okay, so let's say on an external site then, if I have, okay, I'm not going to, hi, I'm Brasse, I'm an altaholic, I'm not going to talk about how many characters I have, but let's say on my main server, I have 8 characters.
Okay.
4 of them I keep hidden all the time. So will the external sites ever be able to pull that data?
No, not unless you make them public.
Okay, that's very cool. So that's probably the only exclusive, is if you want to see the data on your hidden characters, you have to come to the SOE site to see your own data on your hidden characters. Okay. So I suppose that's an exclusive, but that's by choice.
It is definitely by choice. It allows our players to protect their privacy, but still be able to get the information about themselves without it being blocked everywhere.
Right.
Just everywhere except for ours.
So the final question, it's actually a conglomeration of a bunch of different questions, and I know you guys know that this one's coming, so I'm just going to paraphrase what a whole bunch of people have asked, which is, How can we be sure that this is going to be supported, that it's going to continue to provide good statistics? People were pretty disappointed in the last iteration of EQ2 Players, and they've really let us know over the last couple of years that this has been a problem. So what is your level of dedication and support to this product?
Well, let me say that...
I'll give you Clif's cell phone number right after this.
Let me clearly say I totally understand that level of frustration, because when I became part of the web presence and I saw some of the sites, I saw a lot of it was broken, hadn't been updated in a long time, and it was reliant on a system for updating the data that was probably not ideal. We've had a lot of conversations internally, not just with our team, but the execs, the game team. We all, we know our fans want to have access to this data. They want a place that when they're not in game, that they can have a destination that they can go to, enjoy it, find out what they did, how to get better at it, look up the person who kept killing them last night, all this other stuff. What can they do to get better? We know that. And it's not just only in EQ2. We realize that this is something we need to do for all fans. So that is, or for all of our games in the future.
So it is coming to all of our games in the future.
That is the plan. I mean, it's going to
Future
roll out.
is a very long time, by the way.
But we have, the great thing is with Census and with some of the technologies we've developed, is it's something which we can roll out to other games. And we are excited because it's no longer is it just going to be an afterthought. This is something the game teams are excited because they realize that they put so much time, energy, and love into that game. We know the players love it. How can we let people get more of it rather than only when they're online in the game?
That's terrific. Okay, so we've seen the screenshots. We know it works. I'm going to have to go get access to that QA server now and have a quick look myself and convince myself that all is not lost on all my characters. When can we expect to see this go live? Do we have, I bet you don't have a date, do you?
I don't have
Let's hear the traditional answer then.
Soon.
Oh.
Very soon.
TM.
Yes. I don't want to name a date, but we're close. We're very close.
So are you guys still doing testing or just final polish on the interface or what?
Well, as we said, this is a beta. But even with a beta, we still wanted to have a high level of polish. We want to make sure that everything, that the data we're representing is accurate, is showing well, and we're just trying to remove some small bugs.
That's terrific. Do we have any last minute questions on the webcast?
They've been asking about the app.
The app.
Are you going to make an app for it?
Oh, I see.
A mobile app.
Because we had the EQ2 app and...
We did.
Right now, there is not a plan to make a native mobile app. We've already kind of scheduled into the future that we want to make this a mobile web accessible, but it's not going to be a native app. But that's not going to be at the same time we launch the major site.
Okay. It's kind of interesting, though, because if third-party sites can get data feeds, they might be able to build their own mobile app.
And that is exactly the case. In fact, one of the first things we
Get working on it, guys.
One of the first things we saw when the census data feed was released was the server status. And within, it was less than a day or two, a fan had already gone ahead and created a mobile app utilizing this. For Android, iOS, but that's the power. If somebody has an interest in it, go for it.
That is really, really cool. Well, I'm very excited about this because, we've been waiting a long time for this upgrade. So I just wanted to thank Abby Watt and Clif Bate for joining us today on the EQ2 webcast, our sneak peek into the new EQ2 Players coming to a web browser near you soon.
Very soon.
Very soon. Okay. Thanks very much, guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Bye.